Hi, this is Pete Lyons with Let's Play Salesforce, and in tonight's Einstein Analytics video, we're going to be looking at spoilers for the new Winter 20 release. But before we can get into that, we do need to cover our safe harbor. I don't work for Salesforce, nor do I speak for Salesforce. I'm not speaking on behalf of my company either. Please make purchasing decisions based on currently available technologies, and otherwise always swim in safe harbors. So that said, let's jump right in and take a look at the spoilers. Now, the very first thing I'm noticing here is not that we have changed some of the predefined formatting for the compare table, but that we do now have built-in native subtotal functionality. So this is going to be located through this little drop down up here. It was always here and you could always show the totals, but having that summary symbol there makes it a little easier to see. And the way that this is being achieved is actually through some net new SACWL functionality. I don't entirely understand how it works. It is on my to-do list to figure it out, and when I do know, I will let you know. But all I really need to know for now is I click a button and it works. And isn't that the way that we want things to be? That's the way I want them to be. Now, in order to actually access this feature, you are going to have to enable subtotals for Einstein Analytics tables within the setting menu. And that actually takes us to our next couple of spoilers. So the other thing I see here is that we now have one for the extract adoption analytics metadata via data flow. So it looks like the adoption analytics template is getting a nice booster shot. I haven't been able to get this up and running yet, so I'm not entirely sure what the new changes are going to be, but I will let you know when I find out. And I'm also seeing enable Einstein Discovery live metrics. So I'm, again, not entirely sure what that means. I think what it means is that we'll be able to see the model metrics live as data flows into the system and not on a periodic basis, which I believe is the current state. The other thing that I'm seeing here is that we do have an entirely new section in settings, and that is sharing inheritance coverage assessment. So I'm getting this little error when I try to go here, and I'm inclined to ignore it. It might actually be because I'm not using sharing inheritance on any objects in this org. But for those of you that don't know, sharing inheritance is a kind of a supplement to security predicate, where it will attempt to identify what records a user should or should not be able to see based on their access to a Salesforce object. Now, the limitation of this is that it can only dig so far down in, it can only query so deeply. Currently, the limit is either 3,000 or 5,000 rows that the user can actually see. So even if you have 20 or 50 or 100,000 rows in the object, we're only talking about the limit in terms of what the user can and can't see. And that was something that always kind of made me a little bit hesitant. We do need to use a security predicate as a backup. And I just wanted to make sure that it was robust enough before I really started recommending this to my clients. But what's great about this is that it's actually going to allow us to pick a Salesforce object and identify how many users are or are not covered and our coverage ratio. So basically, if I crapped out a few 100,000 rows in this object and I was able to see all but 10 of them, well, sharing inheritance just isn't going to work, and I'm going to need a security predicate. And this page is going to alert me to whether or not this is a problem. And then we can also look at the different data sets that we have loaded up into analytics and view the coverage on those. Dropdown doesn't really seem to be doing anything for me. Maybe I need to search for them, or maybe this feature just isn't fully rolled out yet. Not really sure. Just looking at it for the first time about an hour ago. So more to come on this as it progresses. So the next new feature I'm seeing is a new chart type, and it's been a while since we've gotten one of these. I'm always happy to see these different ways that we can visualize our data for our clients. As you know, I'm pretty unimaginative and I always end up with bars and donuts. I rely pretty heavily on the suggested chart features to guide me in the right direction for something a little bit more visual, and I'm always happy to see when a new chart type has come out. So this new one is called bullets, and I've got this in trellis mode right now, and basically this is another gauge type added to the other four that we already had. And if we go into the formatting options, we're going to have a little bit of control. For example, the format that we want to see the number in. The range weight is going to determine the thickness of, I believe, the bar. Yeah, that determines the thickness of the bar, and then the bar weight determines, let's see, the thickness of the spot within the middle of it. So I'm not entirely sure how to really kind of control this thing. I know we can change the color of the intersection, but honestly, I have not figured out a way to change the color of the outer section, so I hope you want to pick a color that matches with the default blue. I'm also not seeing any options to change the themes yet. So not too sure what we're going to have for coloring options, if anything. We do also have the ability to change the min and max values of this just as we would on any gauge chart if we're viewing something that doesn't go on a scale of 1 to 100. And then this is just some standard trellis options I have. Might be able to do something with conditional formatting here. Is this how we're going to do it? Let's give this a try. So maybe if it's greater than 50, we'll go that way. Oh, wow. Now we're starting to get some cool stuff here. I don't think I like the colors. I absolutely hate these colors, but that's no fault of the product team. That's my fault. I'm just really bad at picking out colors here. So maybe we'll put this guy up around 25 or so. You know, oh, what am I doing here? Come on, 25. Can I get a 5 there? There we go. So yeah, actually, now I'm starting to think that this is pretty cool. This is like some weird blue Star Trek Tequila Sunrise looking thing. I would recommend that you have a little bit more, discretion when picking your color gauges. But this is going to allow us to do things like thermometer charts and just, kind of expand our functionality as far as gauges are concerned. You don't even want to know how we did thermometer charts back in the Analytics Classics days. When I go to get rid of the formatting options here, I do see a minor little glitch in the UI. It doesn't want to disappear. It kind of borks out for a minute there, but if I just click back on here, that seems to resolve the issue. I'm also seeing this button right up here got squished, so I'm going to hop over, re-explore this lens here, and so now, yeah, I'm having a little bit of a rendering issue in my browser. This was looking nice and crispy before, but it looks like we now have the ability to create a story directly from a lens. So this is going to allow us to do stories on data that has been grouped or otherwise potentially massaged, possibly with SACL. I haven't really played around with this a whole lot, so we're going to have to wait and see what the full capabilities of that is. Another thing, we do have a brand new homepage experience. I'm not going to be covering this in this video. Safe harbor on that one. We're still in the planning stages for this, but hopefully I'm going to have a video for you all about this new homepage experience. Hopping back into setup, one thing that I always check every release when I'm doing these videos is I like to look at the analytics permission sets to see if any new permissions have come out. And while I didn't see any, I did see this fancy new AI platform permission set that was created in my org on the day that Winter 20 dropped. What does it do? What does it mean? Well, let's take a look at some of the system permissions that it has, because usually this is where we're going to get some juicy insights. I'm not really seeing anything too standout-ish as a clue for what this is going to allow us to do. But my guess is that this will be necessary for users that are going to be using Einstein to intent, sentiment, vision. Maybe this is just their way of compartmentalizing those permissions and making sure that users have the ability to do what they need to do to be able to leverage those features. Another enhancement that we're seeing is in the realm of the ability to share our insights with users without them having to log into the Analytics Studio. And one new manifestation that we are seeing of that is that if we go to the share button here, we now have a new tab for exporting to Quip. I don't currently have my Quip instance connected to this org. I'm hesitant to do it because I don't know if it's going to prevent me from ever doing it with a different org. But my expectation is that this is going to allow us to share our insights with different Quip documents, groups, etc. So another way to get our insights out there and get users collaborating. So the next thing I observed when I dropped that lens onto the dashboard editor was a new feature that we have called version history. So this side panel is going to allow me to roll back to previous versions of the dashboard so that when I, as I often do, screw up something and can't figure out how to get it back to the way it was, I can roll that back. And when we save our dashboards, we'll be able to add a description to the version history, and that's where this V1 and V2 are coming from. If I don't add a description, I still just have the date time of the change, and I can roll back to any of these versions. I actually think this might be an explanation for the earlier UI glitch I saw with the formatting. The panel just doesn't seem to be collapsing correctly, but these sort of minor things, they always manage to clean up long before it hits production. There's a reason why the pre-release rolls out a full 2 months before you see anything about it. Another enhancement is that the print view, which also might be related to this, now has print, cancel, and done buttons to make sure that the dashboard has the chance to fully render before we try to use it. I don't really leverage this feature a whole lot. I generally recommend using analytics in analytics and not just printing analytics on paper to distribute. But if that is something that you do, and you want to rock that out, go ahead. You just click the print version, and now we have this handy print button to make sure that the dashboard does all the things it needs to do before it sends that over and wastes a whole bunch of unnecessary paper. I mean, we've all got laptops, right? Why are we wasting the paper? That's just my angle. And the last spoiler that I wanted to share with you tonight has to do with the values table, and it's really a one line of code says it all change. So when I hit Control E right here, we see that the type of the step is no longer type grain, it is now an aggregate flex step. And what this is going to give us the ability to do is finally leave behind the legacy binding syntax. There's a number of other enhancements that come along with this feature, but to see more about that, you're going to have to wait for the next video on my channel. And if you did enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, and as always, thanks for watching.